Welcome back, everybody. Thursday morning edition of Hot Mic rolls on. That shot outside just looked like it was cold, which for our next guest, I know he's glad they're playing indoors coming up on Saturday. Plus, it's going to be like 30 degrees warmer by Saturday anyway. The Mercer Bears will be here for an FCS quarterfinal game coming up Saturday, 2:30. You'll see it on WDAY. Their head football coach is Mike Jacobs in his first year, and he joins us now on the show. Coach, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Just describe the atmosphere. You're still playing. It's the middle of December. You're still playing football. What's it been like around the community this week?
And everybody's just been super excited. Campus is kind of winding down here a little bit. We're in finals this week. So a lot of folks are starting to. It's the beginning of the mass exodus, but all season long we've had tremendous support from our community, and although there's a bunch of football kind of in and around the state of Georgia, we're certainly Middle Georgia's team, and I can't say enough about the community. They show up every week, and they've bought in. It's easier when you're a winner, right? So it's been good for us that way.
I have to ask, we had Rick Cameron on the show yesterday, the guy who does all your radio games, and I was interested just with 7 other Division I football schools in Georgia, and I know there's a ton of players down there. How do you get guys to go to Mercer when you've got the appeal of Kennesaw and Georgia State to try to get them to come to your school?
Yeah, I think Rick kind of touched on it, right? Like Mercer is uniquely academic, and we take great pride that this isn't just a community college or a commuter school, right? We have all the allied fields, our medical program, our law school, certainly our engineering. We have a number of our players that are in our engineering disciplines, and so kids recognize and families recognize the value of the education, and then the cherry on top is that we're playing high end FCS football as well.
When you saw the bracket come out, I know you're going to tell me you take it a game at a time. When you saw the potential of this, what came about in your mind, saying, "Well, there's potential. We can go to Fargo and play North Dakota State."
Yeah, I mean, I'm a college football fan, and I've watched a bunch of these games. You guys been in like 15 straight quarterfinals, and they always seem to kind of be at the same time slot when it's kind of we're the in between bowl season right now. So what's cool about it is it's kind of the only show in town, and an opportunity to play, what I would argue has been the best program over the last 20 years of SCS football. It's just a tremendous opportunity for our Mercer program as we work to get things rolling here.
When you saw this job open up, I know you know Drew Croddick well because obviously you followed him at your previous job. Was this like no brainer? If that job opens, I'd be really interested in this.
Yeah, it's pretty quickly. I mean, the once you get into the details, and then once I had an opportunity to, more than anything, like sit down with the administration, Dr. Underwood, our president, Jim Cole, our athletic director, just the commitment from the institution to want football to be really good and have it be an important part of the community. That top-down vision really just solidified for us. I think we've done a great job with our facility. We're in such a fertile recruiting area. I mean, we can be down to the Orlando area in about 5.5 hours. You can get up into the Carolinas. You can get over to Alabama. There's so much quality high school football and tremendous high school coaches and then you couple that with the great education, and I just think this thing's primed to continue to rise. And I'm blessed to be the head coach here.
So last year, Mercer made the tournament, won a game, lost to South Dakota State. You come in knowing full well the talent you had. Was this expectation, obviously, is to win the SoCon? You did that. Is this what you thought was capable of this year's team?
Yeah, I think it was. I think defensively, when we came in, the great news is just because of the timing. I got hired a little bit later, right? Drew didn't leave until I think I got hired the 3rd week of January, and so school had kind of already started, so we really kind of had the spring to get to know the players, for them to get to know us and our staff and see the system a little bit. But the thing that was a little bit of the unknown commodity, we had about 8 starters returning on defense, guys that had been all conference, all American, that had played a bunch of football. But I mean, offense, we were almost starting from scratch. There wasn't a quarterback on the roster who had taken a snap in a Mercer game. We were revamping the offensive line. Riley Adcock's kind of, him and Israel Mukwiza, the left guard and the center there, have kind of been the guys that were the holdovers. And then we had lost 95% of our offensive production. The 2 wide receivers, both had an opportunity in the NFL. One's playing in Canada still, and then our running back left and went to Duke. So, it's kind of like that Will Smith meme, right? You kind of stand around and no one's in the living room, and you got to figure out. We had a bunch of young, talented guys. They just, none of them were battle tested
Yeah.
yet, and so, and then you're going against a really good defense all spring. So as we kind of put the pieces together, we got the transfers in the summer that have been, a big part of our offensive success. You started seeing a little bit more of what I thought we could be overall as a team.
You come in as well, and you see Alabama on the schedule as a D2 guy coming up now to D1. What went through your mind? And then playing at Bryant-Denny Stadium, what was that like for you guys a few weeks ago?
Yeah, although I've been at Division II for quite a while, I played at Ohio State. My
Yep.
dad was a Division I coach for 36 plus years. So, but walking into Bryant-Denny and just kind of the history of that place, and I think the kind of cool, I think the cool thing is Kalen DeBoer cut his teeth at an NAI school, right? I mean, he cut his teeth at Sioux Falls,
Yep.
and to see his rise and his ascension into our profession, to the level that it's at, I think it speaks volumes to just the quality of coaches at the lower levels. And yes, it was a big moment, but it wasn't. It wasn't something that was just so shock and awe that we couldn't function. And our kids, the way the scheduling works, where we play those SEC games pretty much every year. They're our one money game. So in the last 4 or 5 years, we played Alabama a couple times. I think we're supposed to play Auburn next
Yeah.
year. They played Ole Miss last season. So they've at least been in that environment.
As a Ohio native, are you allowed to say the M word at all, or is that is that forbidden?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's fine. I got a lot of respect, and I can't say anything right now because I think Michigan's won 4 in a row. So I gotta take my licks on that.
I have to ask though, for now being in Division II and FCS, to see the level of players that it's the world we live in now, that have gone and made impacts in the Big Ten and the SEC. Does that strengthen your belief that how good the level of football is? I know at Lenore-Rhyne, certainly at Mercer, certainly at North Dakota State, these guys can play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what it is we're a little bit more still of the pure form, right? And especially programs like North Dakota State's got, and the Montanas, and South Dakota State and we're in the development business. And what we're proving is you can take a high school player, you can identify what his projected talent is, you can work hard to develop them, and then you see the fruits of that labor. And then what happens is guys get opportunities. And but the coaches at this level do a tremendous job. I think there's great teachers. I think there's really bright guys with great ideas in all 3 phases. And you see as kids go up and have a bunch of success that we're still doing things the right way at this level.
When you watch NDSU on tape, Mike, what stands out to you?
Just the consistency, their strain, their physicality, right? Like, they play hard, and they haven't just, they've been in a couple close games this year, and but the other ones, they've, I know they started a little bit slow last week, but they put it on them later in the game, and just they're remarkably consistent. The physicality, which has been the benchmark there for a long time, the quarterback is tremendous, and the fact that they've only had something like 4 turnovers the entire season, on a team that already does the little things right. They run the football, they stop the run, and to not turn the ball over, man, like, you have to play almost mistake free to keep yourself in the game, or else they just smother you.
When as a former offensive lineman, you got to have some appreciation for what the Bison offensive line is. When you watch them, what about it really appeals to you of what the NDSU offensive line looks like?
I mean, the size, again, that development
Yeah.
factor, and then they're just so technically sound, and it seems like it's been that way forever. But what they do, and then just how they do it. I think those guys play really hard. I think they're highly fundamentally sound, and as an O-line guy, they're fun to watch.
For heading into this kind of environment, what have you been working on, knowing it can get loud? You played at Alabama, so I don't know if there's anything maybe louder than that, but what have you been working on this week to get ready for the environment on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, we've been much to the chagrin of the faculty during finals. We've had the decimal level up near 100 during our team segments. Going into the Alabama game, we had a little bit of their play with list with some Dixieland delight and some of that stuff, but it's just been kind of the mundane crowd noise. I think my ears bleed at the end of every practice. But during the team segment, we've been working on our nonverbal communication and just making sure that we're ready for what we anticipate to be a raucous and a loud environment.
Tell me about TJ Moore, kind of player he is, and for Bison fans to watch him, he's all over the place. He's a ball hawker, right?
He is, yeah, and the thing with TJ is, man, he's got great size. He's every bit of 6'1". He's 195 plus pounds, and he can run. And what we've done a great job on is finishing on plays and being disruptive with the football. He leads the nation in interceptions, and he's just been a critical part to our success. As we've done a good job stopping the run all year. We face more passes than most folks, and so they get a lot of shot balls, and he's done a good job staying in phase and playing some really tough receivers that can really run down here, and so just his consistency and his ability to make plays on the football have really stood out.
Last thing here before I let you go, and I really appreciate the time. Just what stands out about having this trip, fan support? How can you build on this? Especially if you win Saturday, what can this do for this program now to make it this far?
I think as we talked, it's the only thing going on, right? And so we have a national time slot
Right.
to kind of showcase what Mercer has been working towards the last 11 years since we brought football back. And uh, I think it's not just for football; it's for our university, and it's to say, hey, listen. I think it shows the nation that when you have committed administration that wants it to be good and they give it the resources it needs, and you have the right people in place, once we get the right players, which we've done, you can have a bunch of success. And we're excited to kind of hit this litmus test against, again, what I think's been the best team in college football at this level the last 20 seasons.
Is it crazy that your school didn't have football for 70 years in Georgia? It just seems crazy to me that they wouldn't play football there.
I, I know I don't ask too many questions. I'm glad it's back and we're fired up about it. But yeah, it kind of coincided with, they stopped football kind of around the time that the war was kicking
Yeah.
up, and they never got back to it until they made a concerted effort here in the late 2008 2009 to work towards a date to bring it back, and finally brought it back in 2013,
Yeah.
and here we are in the Elite Eight, and an opportunity to go on the road to Fargo and play North Dakota State.
I know the game's indoors, but have you been looking at the weather forecast of what you're flying into tomorrow or no?
Yeah, listen, man, I'm from Ohio. They think I'm crazy because I got shorts on most of the time down here. Like it's 50, it's 50 degrees, and
Yeah.
everybody here's got, bubble jackets and stocking caps, and me and my kids are walking around in our flip-flops. So
There you go.
it's not -7.
No.
Like I could promise you that. Like I think behind me is the sun shining through the window, and but yeah, man, I mean, it is what it is. It'll be a great experience for our kids, and we got no control over that. So we'll show up and play our best.
Coach, thanks so much for doing this. Safe travels tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you in person at the game on Saturday, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Mike Jacobs, head coach of the Mercer Bears, the 7th seed in the FCS tournament. They'll be here to take on North Dakota State. Game time is at 2:30. Bison Game Day will get us started at 10 a.m. on WDAY. And yes, a reminder, the game is on WDAY this week. We're pretty pumped about that. Mercer, North Dakota State. And this caveat as well, that next week's games will also be on WDAY. So if the Bison win, they're playing on Channel 6 again next week, depending on who they're playing. The games are at 11 a.m. and 2:30 next week. I know it's one game at a time, but just a heads up, the semifinal games are slated for ABC. Also, little tidbit before we go to break from our guy, Sam Herder, and I heard this as well, that he tweets out an announcement coming soon on the future site of the FCS Championship in 2026 and 2027, something we've been working on. We know Nashville's out there. Frisco certainly wants it. We may have an announcement on that before we're even off the air here this morning. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. We'll take a quick break. We come back. We'll wrap up hour one. Jory Collins coming up in our second hour. Cole Wisniewski has a new school. That and much more as we roll on. Back after this